Well, it's that time again. We're here for Cruising on the Edge, where there's real talk, real recovery, real purpose, and real results. I'm your host, Carol Cruz, and I am so excited today to be joined by my friend and guest co host, Tom Cotter from Welcome Back, Cotter. No, I'm just kidding. From the city of brotherly love. Today's conversation has no script, no papers like I usually do, nothing, no guardrails.
Yep.
So if it's your first time here, you're definitely in the right place. So grab your favorite beverage, take a breath, and let's get into it. Hey, Tom,
Sounds
how are
good.
you? How
Hey,
are you?
Carol, I'm
Please
great
introduce
today.
yourself.
I'm Tom Cotter. I am a person of, I could say long-term recovery, lived experience. I've known Carol through Mobilize. She's been one of
Mhm.
those folks that you gravitate to. And when I saw she had a podcast, I pestered her to come on it because I love telling my story. And I think my story is a little unique, and it helps
Mhm.
in recovery to hear how other folks have done it. You know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if we want to start there and just start talking about
You
how we
know,
got there.
So again, like there's no script, no guardrails. I love, again, we'll tap into, I have some rapid fire questions that
Okay.
also can kind of possibly get us into more of a conversation. Not to say that your story isn't robust. I imagine it is. It actually would probably be the first time hearing a lot of your story. As
Okay.
Tom mentioned, that we met at Mobilize Recovery in person. We may have been online at first,
Hmm.
like many of us
Yep.
during COVID, right? And it was it is. You saw me or met me at a time where I was in a wah wah. I was in a, you wouldn't be, a lot of people said, we didn't know you were going through all of that, but because I had a good face,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had one of those masks that we
Yeah.
talk about in
Yeah.
recovery, right? And so, I feel like I missed out on really getting to know you. I just was looking back at some pictures, and there is a picture that was taken of you and I and Jacqueline,
Yeah.
which I'm probably going to post
Yeah.
rather than the one you sent me because I was like, he's
Yeah.
in a department store.
Well,
Come on, you
I,
could take a
I
better selfie than that. It's okay.
I am
I'm just
not
saying.
a selfie taker. I am awful.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
you
good.
you want to start with the
That's when you
questions?
grab your grandchildren
Yes,
and you
exactly.
say, "Take a picture of me."
Right.
Yeah,
Has
and
to
then
be
you come up with
candid.
all these funny faces and you give them something to do, especially because they're your grandchildren, my grandchildren are growing up in the world of tech,
Yes,
right? So
correct.
there goes my mic. Let me
Yeah.
just fix this real
Yeah.
quick.
So do we
So
want
I'm
to
going to
start with
throw
the
some
question?
rapid Go ahead, Tom. Go
No,
ahead.
do we want to start with the rapid fire? That sounds good.
Yeah, I just wanted just to say, and I'd probably be able to edit it a little bit, but you are a little fuzzy.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's just your signal. I can hear you clearly, but I'll work on the editing. And if what best case scenario, we have a recording and I'll still post it and we can
Okay.
meet up again.
If
Cause
I'm
I
fuzzy,
imagine with the
if,
conversation we're going to have today is definitely going to need a part two
okay.
or part three,
All
four,
right.
and five.
That sounds good to me. If I'm fuzzy, I'm fuzzy. So be it.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So you're from the city of brotherly love.
I, I'm actually,
Steelers or Eagles?
I'm actually from Pittsburgh, right?
Okay.
And right now I live,
What's the difference? It's Pennsylvania, no?
yes, still Pennsylvania. I'm from Pittsburgh. I now live in Northeast PA, actually the city of
Mhm.
Nazareth, the town of Nazareth, and I moved
Okay.
here from Bethlehem, so all those biblical references. Yeah, right. And my wife and I are fortunate.
We just got over Easter, Tom.
Yeah, right, right. Well, to each his own. Um,
I just get it.
my wife and I are fortunate that we live in a CCRC, which stands for a continuing care retirement community.
Okay.
We designed our own home. We live in a
Mhm.
beautiful
Nice.
cottage. And
Hmm.
when the time comes, there's 6 phases in our development. Um, A lot of folks have moved in at the same time of us, so it's a very vibrant community. And when we
Mhm.
reach the point, we go to the over the hill, we call it, to the big house, and they'll take care of us.
The big house.
Yeah,
Back in my day, for my people, we called the big house the jail.
yeah, the big house
Come
is
on.
like when you need skilled or nursing, but we're very
Mhm.
fortunate to have this. And I
Yeah.
think the main reason we wanted to do it is we had the opportunity. Um, we knew we didn't want our children to be stuck having to figure out what to do because we've seen it end poorly with our relatives. And we
Okay.
missed the connection. Where we lived before, it wasn't a community.
Mhm.
And
I
I,
see.
I will tell you that it was a big adjustment, you know,
Mhm.
to move into a community that's pretty well established as a new person. Um,
Mhm.
as much of it
Downsizing. That's a
downsizing and then
mhm.
upsizing because we now have
Okay.
a bigger place, but I didn't really give myself the grace to feel how intense that was and how much of an effect
Mm.
it had on me.
Okay.
So a lot of like, do I belong here? Am I good enough to be here? You'll hear that throughout our conversation. Am I good enough? Do I belong?
Mm.
And that's embedded from way back when. Now, I will
Yeah.
say that we're 6 months in, and I love being here, and I've made
That's
friends,
wonderful.
and, we're fortunate. I'm very happy. Um
Well, we know as people in early recovery, mid recovery, or, long-term recovery, we don't like change,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And as it is, they say, change the person you brought into the rooms, or you're doomed to repeat,
yeah,
right? But in your
yes.
case, the change was getting older, right? Retiring,
Mhm,
per se,
mhm,
right? And that's what I'm preparing. That's why I'm, putting a lot of my spare time or my days off into podcasting, is because I'm preparing for that day when I say, okay, I'm done,
yeah,
and I'm ready to retire. As I shared with, my previous co-hosts, that my dream, and I put it out there because I believe in manifesting, put it out to the universe and see what comes back. And again, don't tell God about your plans, because if you want to make him laugh, right? But my plan is, and I really feel it is spirit centered, is, getting myself a nice little drivable RV, hitching my car to the back, and
oh, there you
taking
go.
cruising on the edge on the road.
Yeah,
Yep, that's my dream. And so, even though it sounds like it it was a plan between you and your wife, um it's turned out better and bigger than you expected. Is that
yeah,
right?
truly, truly,
Yeah.
and, a big part of it was getting to know people and having, really in-depth discussion and finding out
Mhm.
that a few of our neighbors here are touched by recovery. They have
Okay.
daughters. They're
Oh, we see that.
raising
Mhm.
grandchildren. They have
Mhm.
relatives with issues. They have sons or daughters with issues. And to
Mhm.
open up and have those conversations and understand that, you know, you're not alone, I'm not alone, and we can talk
Mhm.
about stuff like that. That was a big, big help to me. The
Yeah.
other part was I needed somebody, and in guy terms, that would bust my balls a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I needed to have someone to, joke around with. Like,
Mhm.
I can't wait for my friend down the road, Tim, to come up and see that I finally cleaned up my garage after 6 months, because that's the first thing he said to me was, "Nice garage, pal." But little things like that
Mhm.
were what I needed to feel
Yeah.
a part.
And it's those little hints,
Yeah.
I had lunch. Here we go.
Yeah.
Allergy season already.
Oh my
Excuse
god,
me.
yeah, and by the way, Northeast Pennsylvania is horrible for allergies.
Mhm. What do you get? A lot of ragweed and stuff like that?
I am tree removed, so all this rain with all that crap that's still out there
Yeah,
isn't helping.
right. So right before, getting on the call today, and that's probably a little why, a bit why I am not prepared with, questions and things like that, which again, it's here nor there. I had lunch with an old sponsor,
Mhm.
but we're more friends. My relationship with my old sponsor is like my relationship with my ex. We're better friends than we are
Yeah.
sponsor sponsee or
Yeah.
married
Yeah.
couple,
Yeah.
and that's a deuce discovery, right? That's what I learned to detach from,
Oh,
is
yeah.
that I had to fit into this image. Early recovery, it's important, right? We look for those people to guide us in whatever path we're supposed to be
Mhm.
in, right? But if you're going traditionally, like you and I did, going through the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, or if not, that's not your pathway, but that was mine. And I actually met this person. She was probably like my 20th sponsor over a 20-year period of time, and I'm not saying one a year. I'm saying somewhere I skipped a
Yeah.
year here and
Yeah.
there. Some sponsors were working, some people were in my life for a season. And that was another thing that I learned to detach from, is that
Right.
people aren't meant to come along on this journey with us
Well, let's
permanently,
come back to that because that was really
Okay.
key
Okay.
for me. And if you want to talk about it now, um,
Mhm.
my pathway was smart recovery. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I was fortunate. First of all, I've been fortunate to have the ability to get.
Excuse me, Tom. Let me just stop you right there. If you could just explain, because people that are watching may not, and it will be in the description. Can you explain a little bit about what is smart recovery and how is it different from 12
Sure.
step recovery?
So, smart recovery is an evidence based program that doesn't really follow the traditional. I'm cheating because I'm looking at my book. It doesn't
Hey,
follow the
gotta get
traditional
stripped.
pathways. It's mostly self
Mhm.
empowered and it
Right.
believes in multiple pathways, but it also
Mhm.
connects um, those that are involved with skills. And it believes in four things. It's a 4-point program: building,
Mhm.
maintaining motivation, coping with urges, managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and living a balanced life. So
Right.
typically, there's meetings where there's a facilitator. You start with a check-in. Everybody, you'll have like a keyword like "How was your last week?" or "What's something you're
Mhm.
struggling with?" or "What's something that you're proud of?" And we go around the room, and then based on that, this is like the handbook, and
Okay.
the handbook has tools that, based on what you may hear as a facilitator, we may teach a tool. One of the
Right.
basic tools, I'll give you a real easy tool. It's called, and they have acronyms. It's called DUBS, and it's disputing
Doves, like the bird? Doves?
dub DUB,
Oh, dub. Okay.
disputing unhealthy beliefs. So
Okay.
the way I look at it is, and this is my interpretation of smart recovery. It helps you with the space between the stimulus and the response, or the trigger and the action. It's what happens in here when you
Mhm.
can stop, slow down, think about a consequence, think about your belief about what's going to happen, and then apply
Mhm.
a scientifically based tool that works for you that stops that snap decision.
Okay.
I can relate it to something as simple as a person cuts you off in traffic. You want to do
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of times that doesn't end well. So
Right.
if a first person, and this was my first real breakthrough, guy cut in front of me, I didn't give him the finger, beat the horn. So I would give myself a ding because I
Mhm.
accomplished something. Well, after a while,
Yeah.
my wife said, if you keep doing that dinging, I'm going to punch you in the face. But it can be
Okay.
something as involved
I
as
like your wife.
you'd love her. I mean, she fits right in. she's the most honest person I've ever been with, and we've been through.
That's why we were gravitated to Jacqueline, and
Yeah.
shout out to
Oh,
Jacqueline
Jacqueline,
Brown.
she is a
Yes,
soulmate.
there is definitely no
Oh,
guardrails on my
I'm
our friend.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, Jacqueline can't wait to meet her. She'll
Mhm.
sit in on some of our calls, um,
Okay.
but, it can be something as serious as, you hear something really awful, and you immediately wanna reply to it, but you know that
Mhm.
it's not the right thing. How do you start
Right.
to flex that muscle of the pause? That's
Mm.
my interpretation of smart recovery. There's various tools. Right now, I'm working with my therapist on a tool called ABCs:
Mhm.
activating event, belief about that event, consequence about that event, and then disputing that. Right. So it's
That sounds
very
a lot like cognitive behavioral
oh,
therapy.
totally based on CBT.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
I
what I
should
thought.
have led with
Yeah, immediately that's what I went to. And again, I am not a therapist, nor is Tom,
no.
but we see these tools. And again, we these tools weren't like named when I was in a 12
Right,
step program, right?
right.
It's meeting makers make it. You got to get through the whole 12 steps. You got to get a sponsor and so on and so forth. And when I first heard about smart recovery, which wasn't too long ago, and I have attended where a friend of mine, actually my last place of work, we had a smart recovery group, and I wasn't the facilitator, but I was, I went into some of the meetings just to see it because I've never really seen it. I've read a
Yeah,
lot about it. I actually downloaded a lot of the motivational interviewing questions, and I used that in my recovery
right.
coach training, and so everything was everything was interconnected in its own way. And so yeah, that I definitely hear how that is applied, and decision making is like key, right? You made a decision to, like, the first step in 12 step program is, accepted the thing, accepted my life was unmanageable, right? It's that you have to make a decision whether you do anything with that decision. So if someone cuts me off and I throw them the finger and then I stop my car
Yeah.
and I get out of the car, chances are I haven't made I
Yeah,
haven't really made a
you're not
good
making the
decision,
right
because
decision.
why?
Yeah.
I didn't pause. I didn't take a breath. I didn't sit back and, try to rationalize with myself first, is this a good decision?
Yeah.
I didn't avoid the conflict. I ran into the fire
Yep.
with no protection.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we
Yeah.
talk a lot about the stages of change and how,
Mhm.
there's
Yep.
contemplation, pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, right? But what
Right.
built within each of those is the
Mhm.
concept of a lapse. And a
Right.
lapse is an opportunity to learn. So,
Mhm. Yep.
there's slight differences between AA and SMART. We
Mhm.
welcome multiple pathways. A lot of people
Yeah.
come into SMART and just start bashing AA. No,
Mhm.
stop,
Yeah. No, that's
stop.
not,
It's
yeah.
what works for
Yeah.
you. You can take bits and
Mhm.
pieces of anything. But I think the key concept there is, though, you lapse and keep going.
Mhm.
And also, you don't really have to identify, like within your check in, you don't have to say, hey, I'm,
Right. You
no,
don't have to
oh,
say I'm an addict, I'm an
no,
alcoholic,
no. Now, a lot
or
of
I'm a
people
sex
do.
addict or overeater or any
Yeah,
of those things. Yeah.
yeah. But I will tell you, where I am now, a lot has to do with going in too deeply, right? So I don't know if we want to talk about that or hit that lately, but
Again, let's not hold ourselves to, again, I want you to feel comfortable to sharing what you feel, and I can
okay.
tap in, not to say that, we want to give our audience, some information that maybe they've never heard before or they can take back. You mentioned earlier about people that you've met in your community that you're in currently, and we see this, right?
Right.
The opioid crisis, early, the epidemic, as they
Touches
said,
so many people.
really has brought, like, there is very rarely do you see a family member that hasn't been affected. Jacqueline, for one, right? Jacqueline was affected by the loss of her brother.
Right.
My mother was an alcoholic. Yes, I was affected. I was a child of an alcoholic, but I also, then, you know, got my disease went rampant.
Uh-huh.
And so I think the more people, I'm not saying that I wish that upon anybody, to have lost a loved one
No.
or struggled
No.
in the call center that I work with. I get calls from parents a lot, and I've worked with parents and I've worked with individuals with substance use disorder and other addictions. And what I think it's most important, and this helps to remove the stigma. So I'd say yes, A1 for smart recovery, because it gives another alternative where even smart recovery is development around for families,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
We
it
have
gives them
friends
a
and
better
family.
understanding, not only about the science, about the disease itself, but also how the brain works, because we know that brain gets hijacked by the
Yeah.
substances,
Mhm.
or whether the action of making bad decisions. It's not a choice, as some people would say, oh, they
Right.
choose to be that way, or they choose to be unhoused, or they choose to
Yeah.
be,
How
junkies or
damaging
addicts and
is
things like
that,
that. And
right?
excuse if words offend anybody that's listening. Those are just what we as recovering people have had to experience and
Sure.
also had to teach. I teach legislation about language, about
Uh-huh.
changing the language, changing the landscape. We vote. We're one of the biggest
Yeah.
voters
Right.
out there,
Right.
right?
Right.
But if you don't talk about us and you take away our funding so that we can get programs out there like smart recovery and other multiple pathways and harm
Uh-huh.
reduction and things like that, chances are we're not going to be in your corner because you're not in ours.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
I digress.
Okay. So
But go ahead, Tom.
let me let me go back to my recovery story. Okay. Um,
Yes.
I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 60, given Adderall and said, see you later. Right. Now, at the same time, I didn't really realize it, but I had a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Um, I didn't drink every day. I didn't crave alcohol, but when I found out that it was tied into some PTSD from when I was a kid, that I wanted to be performer, I wanted to be liked. Alcohol was my lubricant to become the performer, right?
Mhm.
So on September 3rd, 2015, I made a complete fool out of myself in front of literally everybody I could possibly affect. I was at an outing with people I worked with, my boss, um, coworkers. Then, in my infinite wisdom, I had someone drop me off at a family dinner, meeting my son's wife to be and their family, and got totally shit faced and wound up
Mhm.
literally on the floor of our favorite restaurant. I quit
Mm.
alcohol that day. So,
Wow.
guess what? That wasn't the problem. I was still having very dangerous thought patterns, which I now know was related to my ADHD. I had trouble regulating my executive function. I had trouble accepting criticism. That were probably the two biggest things. I didn't know the importance of paying a mortgage. So I put my family at a very severe financial risk. This is even after I stopped drinking. right?
Mhm.
So then decided to go to therapy, um, and it was kind of therapy like. It helped me understand, and the biggest thing that was part of me was the shame that I was causing my family and myself. I couldn't get over it. By chance, I switched therapists and I found somebody who was CBT based,
Mhm.
and my real recovery started. I can tell you, I know the date, 3/26/21, 1 year to the date after my mom passed. To me, that was her
Wow.
gift. And when that happened, I forgave myself. I began to love myself and I began to realize that the problem was here. It wasn't out
Mhm.
there. And then I went to work.
Mhm.
Now, let's fast forward a little bit. I when I would when I would latch on to someone that I really respected in the world of recovery, I would want to be like that. So the one
Sounds
thing
like
that
you became the chameleon.
yeah, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
I
I can
want to be
relate.
that guy. People know me, right? I craved that, and that also came from that validation of telling me I was good enough. It's hard to shake
Mhm.
that, you know?
It is.
It's really hard to shake that. So what I found I was doing was I would latch on to somebody. Just, I mean, if you would talk to Ryan, I literally would harass him because his first book, I have it sitting right here, American Fix. When they did the bus,
Ryan Hampton. Yep.
Ryan Hampton,
Mhm.
his first book, American Fix, was what
Mhm.
really lit my fire. And I remember the bus went to New Jersey, and I have a picture of me with him, and he looks like I'm like a crazy stalker, but we get along, right?
You next to him, you look like the crazy stalker?
I was the crazy stalker, right? So I would have these like attachments.
That's what I did to Resma Menakem, I have to say, and he wrote the book, My
Yeah,
Grandmother's
yeah,
Hands, so
yeah, yeah.
I did yes, I
So
did.
it was a
I admit it.
combination. Yeah, but I wanted to be like a Ryan Hampton. I wanted to be like somebody new.
Mm,
So what became my next avenue was learning to facilitate. Well, first of all, I was trained as a CRS and a CFRS, um,
and
certified recovery
those
specialist,
acronyms are
certified recovery specialist, certified family recovery specialist.
there you go.
I had a
Thanks.
great teacher. He became
Mhm.
my next, I don't know what you call it, like,
Mentor,
yeah, mentor,
inspiration, muse.
inspiration, muse. And then I wanted to be him, right?
Mhm.
Then smart recovery came in and I learned how to be a facilitator. So I start facilitating smart recovery. Um, we co-facilitated for a while, and I guess I kind of bumped the other guy out. So be it. And it got to the point where I thought I was the guru. I thought I was the teacher. I thought I was the know-it-all. And what really got me was, uh,
Bee's knees,
yeah, right,
as our parents would say.
right,
You're
right,
the
right.
bee's knees.
What got me was as one of the meetings was ending, I had one of our, I call it my classmates,
Mhm.
said, "I only come here because of you." And I
Mm.
went, "Holy shit." Right? And that sent me down this path.
Where did your ego go from there?
Oh, it went, it totally deflated because I realized I didn't
Ah.
like being that, and I didn't like the person who I wanted to be. And that caused my break. So, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was I am coming out of a complete break where I just stopped doing everything.
Yeah.
And if that was the catalyst, it was only part of it because I
Mhm.
found myself trying to do everything too. I wanted to be accepted
Mhm.
by all of the RCOs, all of the recovery organizations. I had these
Mhm.
grand plans to be the smart recovery guy for Pennsylvania, and we were going to go statewide.
Mhm.
And first of all, I realized I couldn't do it. And second of all, the only way I could pull myself away was to just stop everything. I went to zero. Now, what I
Mm.
also didn't realize is, and what I found later through working with my very, um, my very inspirational and testing therapist who referred me to a psychiatrist, that I basically had a psychiatric break, nervous breakdown, whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, is I was I was not me. And
Mhm.
what really brought that home, and I regret this, is we took the family in the middle. Oh, in the meantime, I blew out my
Mhm.
Achilles tendon and had surgery. So I'm also in
So it
recovery.
forced you to pause.
Yeah, it forced me to pause. And then
Mhm.
once I started getting better, and I realized I was starting over, um, our family went on a cruise, a Disney cruise. So me and my infinite wisdom decide this is going to be my pilgrimage and I'm going to find myself on. Well, what I did was I just tortured mostly my wife with all these thoughts about, how I'm going to rebuild my psyche and all that. Finally, she said, if you don't stop, I'm going to throw you off of this boat. you know,
What Disney character did you relate to?
I don't, whoever had the most delusional life, right? But that wasn't the way to do
Hmm.
it. What I
I'll have to
realized
think
I
about
needed
that.
to do was systematically
Mhm.
um, do the things that meant something to me, right?
Right.
So the people that mattered most to me were the ones that I started to reconnect with.
Mhm.
Jacqueline, you. There's, I don't know if you know Kathy Strange. She works for the Partnership to End Addiction. She's
Yes.
been there for
Mhm.
me. Jordan Scott,
Mhm.
you. Um, the most ironic
I
thing,
get twice. You get to
right?
see you.
Right,
That's my twin. That's my Gemini rising.
right,
I get
right.
I get
So,
mentioned twice.
in order for me to become the person I liked, the person I could
Mhm.
really relate to, I had to start over. And there's
Yeah.
a couple things that really resonated with me. One is, there's a person that I don't know, our hairstylist, I say to say, it's a person that has cut our hair for like 12 years, right?
Mhm.
She knows us. And basically, bartenders and barbers are like auxiliary therapists, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mhm.
and
On the fly, for sure.
she has been touched by the epidemic. She lost her daughter's husband a long time ago, and we talk a lot about. So this last time that I went, it was about 2 weeks ago. You can tell my 2 weeks out from a fresh haircut. Um, she said, "You're
Can't tell
different."
under my
Yeah, right.
earphones. I had mine
You're
done last
different.
week.
She goes, "The last 3 or 4 times that I cut your hair, it wasn't you." And I went, "Holy
Mhm.
shit! Was it that noticeable that I was really like
Mm.
starting to spiral?" And that really hit me that someone like that noticed. Aside from
Yeah.
the fact of my once once I went to see my psychiatrist who reset all of my meds, um, my wife and I, we have a 15-minute everyday talk. 15 minutes where we talk about what's going on. Because I would constantly berate her with all of my rantings about recovery. Now we save it and we talk
Sounds like you
about
built agenda,
it.
a
Yes.
routine. Yeah.
And the stuff
Mhm.
that she told me just just brought me down to my knees. It brought tears to my eyes.
Mhm.
In fact, it's starting now. Um,
Mm.
she said, all that time, that you were trying to hide things, you weren't. We all knew. We knew to
Mhm.
hide the pills when you came to the house. We knew that, we knew that you were dipping into things. And I'm like, whoa, I was a lot. worse than I ever thought I was, but
Mhm.
that's all in the past. That's done. That's how
Yeah.
I got to right here, right now at
Mhm.
3 something PM talking to you on this, and I
Awesome.
wouldn't wanna be anywhere else.
I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you so much. It gives me, again, a little bit more, to picture. And as we were talking earlier, about a Gemini and
Mhm,
Aquarius,
mhm.
two air signs, right? We're all the way up here because we're
Yeah,
always thinking, we're always moving. And for us to be forced into taking a pause or putting a pin in it and not finding some understanding about why we react to certain things.
mhm,
Why is kind of like a close-ended question. I don't often ask people, why did you do that? Or how did you come? It's more like a, how did you come to that decision? What had to happen in your life to make that shift?
yeah,
And it sounds like of several things. It's same with me. The first shift was, getting pregnant, but that wasn't enough,
yeah.
right? It wasn't enough to stop. If anything, I push further and further away from my family or away from people that thought they knew me, moving to another state, and just kind of blending in. I'm a blended person, so I was just blending in with the
Okay.
rest of
So
everybody.
you would
And
blend
people
so
don't
you could
see.
belong. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You could blend
Yeah.
so you knew you belonged, right?
Right. But even that wasn't it, what that was not my initiative. That
Right.
was not my
Okay.
intent to belong, because I had tried that as a teenager.
Yeah,
Even my tap into drug use, I even said to I'm never going to be an alcoholic like
yeah,
my mother. So I used alcohol, but my primary use was hard street drugs. And I agree with you. It wasn't the drugs were only part of the symptom,
oh, yeah,
right? And
definitely.
usually it was to numb myself from everything else, all the chaos that was going on around, inside and out,
Yep.
right? Things that even I couldn't control any longer, of the things and of my emotions, right? I couldn't stop the tears. I thought I was a master manipulator, like you thought you were a master facilitator.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I was telling lies to the point where I forgot about where I left off of the
Mhm.
lie, or
Yeah,
who I told it to, or how I had to fabricate it to justify my behavior.
and it just
And,
keeps
I
spinning.
think that's an interesting part that people don't understand about the disease.